Welcome everybody to another episode of Studio Live. Today's a bit different. We're going to do a drum mixing battle between the plugins that you get natively included with Logic and third-party plugins. Let's see which is best, which is... Yeah, I thought this would be an interesting one to do. I've got some really nice drum stems sent over to me, recorded by my friend Jonathan Atkinson, legendary drummer to the stars. He recorded these drums in his studio. Fantastic recording, lovely mics, lovely preamps. And all we're going to do is we're going to mix it twice. I'm going to do it in real time. You can watch the whole thing happening. This first time, I'm going to use my favourite plugins that I would normally use. So SSL E-Series channel strips, probably a bit of Pulsar 8200, probably the Kive mix bus compressor, probably the UAD API 25 drum bus compressor. Yeah, just all my favourite plugins, the way I would normally work, and just see how long it takes, how quick it takes me, you know, to get a drum sound up and running. Anyway, let's look at that right now, and then immediately after that, we'll look at me trying to do the same with just Logic plugins, see if it takes longer, see if it's harder, see if they're out, you know, the end result is anywhere near as good. Let's find out. Right, let's do the third-party plugins first. So any plugins I want to use, let's get a drum sound up and running right now. Okay, we've got some drum stems. Jonathan Atkinson, professional drummer extraordinaire, recorded this at his studio, sent me the stems. Let's have a quick listen to what we've got. So let's listen to the whole thing together quickly. Nice recording. So we've got these different stems. We've got kick in. Let's turn the cycle off for a minute. Kick in's pretty nice. We got kick out. We've then got snare top. Nice. Little bit of spill, but that's completely normal. Snare bottom. Plenty of snare rattle like that. Then we've got a hi-hat. Fair bit of snare in there, but that's pretty nice. Tom 1. Let's see if we can find a tom fill. So it's resonating quite a lot on every snare hit. Let's find another hit. Ah, there's an actual hit. Okay, so the hit is significantly louder than the spill, so that's fine. We can sort that out. Then we've got tom 2. Let's listen to that same fill. Again, fine spill, but plenty of signal. Floor tom. Nice. Nicely damped floor tom as well. That saves me a bit of work. Overheads. How does that sound? Yep, lovely. And then we've got Worst Reslow, which is a mic. It's a Reslow mic, and I think it's sort of angled down right over the top of the kit. And it's generally a very compressed, very nice sound. Let's have a listen. Here we go. Oh. Wow. I mean, for some stuff, I could definitely just EQ that, and that would be it. That would be the drums. That's a great mic. And then finally, we've got a tambourine that only comes in the choruses. Hold on. Simple. Nice. Okay, so it's all there. All we've got to do is process it. We've got to gate it a bit. We've got to compress it a bit, some EQ, a little bit of reverb. Let's see how long it takes us to get this drum situation under control. So let's start with kick in always a good place. I'm going to use my SSL plugins just because that's what I normally use, and it's quick for me, and I've got the controller so I can just get on, no messing around. Let's start. If I won't use the controller, I'll use the mouse, because that way you can see what I'm doing. That probably makes more sense. Okay, so kick in. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the filter. We're going to filter out a little bit at the bottom, maybe not. We're going to sort the dynamics, and then we're going to come back to the EQ. So let's do. Okay, so I'm going to cut. I've pushed, sorry, I should be talking. I've set the gate. Might need tweaking later, but for now that works. Compressed it a little bit, around about 3:1. It's quite a lot, but I might back that off later. So now I'm going to try and scoop out that bit in the mid-range, which I don't particularly like, somewhere around sort of 200, relatively wide Q. There you go. That's getting rid of it. Now I want to give it a poke somewhere, give it some click. Back to the rhythm. You can use this pre to give it a little bit of saturation. Don't want to go mad. It's nice if it's clean. That'll do for the minute. Right, so that's the kick in for now sorted. Let's move to kick out. Now, always the best thing to do if you just, if you're working for someone and, the clock is ticking, or even if you just want to save time, just copy and paste what you did for kick in, because it's going to need just tweaks to turn it into kick out. Now, we're just going to work in solo. You shouldn't work in solo too much, but for getting kicks and snares and toms right before you put it all back together, it's fine. Don't let, all the people on YouTube get to you and say, oh no, you should never EQ anything in solo. Trust me, if you're going to be doing drums on a record, do it in solo, put it all together. You'll see as we go along. Anyway, kick out. Let's see how it sounds using all the settings for kick in. Yeah, it's halfway there, isn't it? So, going to dip the threshold a bit. Make sure we're getting those double clicks. So we can back the range off a bit on this. We don't need 100% gating. It can let some of it through. There's not much getting through, so that's cool. Yeah, I'm not sure we need to do too much to that. We can try and put a little bit more of the sort of upper mid in there, a bit of lower mid back in. Let's put them two together. That's nice. I can feel the air. We can hear stuff. That'll be on kick in. Let's go back to that. Okay. Tom's loud. Right, let's move on to snare top. We could copy that across, but there's no point. We're going to make enough changes that we might as well start with another one. Okay, this is the SSL E channel, just because I learned on an E series, I kind of use them a lot. Let's get into the snare. It's a nice snare sound. I'm going to use the pre just to give it a little bit more bite. Bit more input. I've always said it, SSLs come alive when you drive them a bit. We don't want to drive the output, it's the input. Okay, so get compression, parts release. This is why I like SSLs. I've done almost nothing and already that's really close. Now that's quite a short gate. We're in a fill there. Let's go to chorus because it's double time, so it's more important to get that right. It's quite short. Lengthen it, get that tail in there. Kind of happy with that, I think, gate-wise for now. Just clipping the output a little bit. Right, EQ-wise, I like to use the bell shape. Find somewhere around 125 is generally where the body is. Oof, there it is. Now, a bit above that, generally some stuff I don't like so much. Little bit of that out, not too much. And then we want the snap. Where's that going to be? Well, generally 7-ish. And we've got another band to play with. I'm happy with that for now. It will change later. It needs some reverb, but we're going to do the snare bottom next. Then we're sort of at the place where we can stop working on kicks and snares, move to the overheads, get that sounding great, then bring the kick and snares in. Then we'll start working on the toms. So we're going to do the same again. We're going to copy that across the snare bottom, and it's not going to be a million miles away. Let's have a listen. So the gap's all right. We can gate it probably a bit quicker. We don't need so much of the tone. Try and pick it off a bit, turn that pre off a little bit. Don't need the bottom end in there. Going to filter that off. Let's see how that works. Ah, we nearly forgot the most important thing. Snare top and snare bottom, the mics are basically pointing at each other. So you have to reverse the phase on one of them. Generally the snare bottom is the one to do it on. Where is phase reverse? There it is. So let's listen to it. Bring the snare bottom down. Now it's got a very definite wallop. If I put the phase out, it's all right, but it's not got the oomph, sucking the power out. There it is. Okay, one more thing I'm going to do before I do anything else. I'm going to put a bit of reverb on the snare top. Let's have a quick listen to that. It sounds like a lot, but in the context of a mix, that won't sound like a lot. I'm just using the Lexicon, the Relab Development LX480 Essentials. It's a, what is it? It's a small stone drum room preset thing that I've knocked up. Okay, let's put the kicks in as well. I'm going to leave everything else out, put them all in solo. Okay. Now we're going to go to the overhead. Let's have a listen again to that. Okay, I'm not going to do loads to this. I'm going to use an EQ. This is the Pulsar 8200, which is the Massenburg EQ modelled version. Going to scoop a little bit in the middle. Where are we? 1.2 kind of area. Roll off a bit at the bottom end. So I'm not doing loads. Then I'm going to compress it. Purple Audio MC77. It's basically a pair stereo 1176s. Have they got snare smack parallel I made at some point? This is probably going to be too much for overheads, but it is a bit. So I'm just going to back it up a bit. So it's just a little bit of squash, not loads, but enough. Okay, that's the overheads. Let's put everything else on mute. In fact, let's quickly have a look at a hi-hat before we could do that. Hi-hats, I tend not to do too much. Quite often I won't use them in the mix. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a high-pass filter in about 300, which sounds incredibly high, but it's a hi-hat. If I need anything else, I'll come to it later, but right now that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to mute the toms, I'm going to mute the verse, and I'm going to mute the tambourine. So all we're going to have in is the overheads, and then we're going to bring in the kick and snare once we're going. And through experience, I know I'm not going to want the overheads that loud. So I'm going to start somewhere around about here. I know 40% volume on the fader. I'm going to start around there. And I'm going to start with the kick. Okay, now the kick out. Now I'm going to bring in the snare top. Now I'm going to bring in the snare box. Hat's already there. Going to leave the hat pretty low. And back off that reverb a bit. Okay, so that balance is okay for now. I'm going to now EQ the snare top in context. Being out to hear the other bits, it's going to change a bit, but only a bit. Okay, that's sounding not bad for now. Before I get the toms in, I'm going to start doing some processing on the drum bus. All of these, what is there, like 11 drum channels, they're all going to a bus, a stereo bus, which is my drum bus, and then that is going into the master bus. Now the master bus from the off has got the Kive X bus on it, but it's not in yet. So let's start putting that in. It's just the standard setting I have for the mix bus. That's not going to affect it massively yet. Let's look at the drum bus. On the drum bus, I have put the UAD API 2500. It's a classic drum compressor and it can really do some cool stuff. So let's put it into the chorus, the double time bit, and I'll turn it on and we'll hear what it does. Here we go. Immense amount of oomph and smack. We can change it to fit the song. It sounds like it's a little bit too much gain. So we've got the thrust and the knee. It's quite interesting to play with them. Sometimes they're just too much. That's set on medium. Listen to what happens when I change the thrust from medium to normal and then loud. I've also set the mix to around 60%. So that's really made a massive difference. It's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, really, the drum bus compressor. Okay, let's get back to the drums. Let's start work on the tom. I know that the snare is not going to be a million miles away from the gate settings and compression settings. So let's start with that. Let's take the EQ out for a minute and just work on the gating and compression. We might not need any compression because we're using a drum bus, but we might. Let's find a fill. Not sure there's any tom one in that fill. Let's try the next fill. Maybe not that one either. Right, let's try this one. There it is. Okay, let's back off the input. The gate's doing a great job. I've set the range so that we can still hear a little bit what's going on. It doesn't need to be completely off. It is going to need to be EQ'd. That is a doing. With toms, I quite often find the bit that cuts through the mix, it's very similar to the snare frequency. Up the top, the click, that bit cuts through the mix. And then you want some resonance, but you don't want that sort of doing sound in the middle. You've kind of got to give it, it's a bit like a smiley face with a cut at the bottom and a cut in the middle. You've got to push it in two places to get the richness and the audible bit. Two top E. Now, again, a big part of the tom sound is the reverb. Let's put that back on. Let's go with that for now. Before we put it in, what we have to do is listen to the overheads in isolation. And we have to work out where the toms are in the stereo field. Because if you don't pan the individual mic toms to exactly the right place, it just ruins the whole stereo field. So, get your overhead, put it on, listen to it. It's just to the right of centre. So, tom one, hopefully somewhere around there, solo the pair together. Close enough. Tom 1 done. Now, Tom 2. Let's just do what we've done before. We're going to copy that across. Again, there's no need to start again. This is going to be close. Let's have a listen in isolation. Tom 2. Slightly different. Shortening it a little bit. It's a bit duller. A bit more top in there. A bit more going in. Not very much. Okay, we'll listen to both those toms. Now, tom's off. Let's listen to the overhead again. Let's see if we can hear where the second tom is. It's kind of there. It's kind of more to the left. So let's try around there. Let's put those toms in with the overhead. That sounds right there. Go with what sounds right. Okay, we'll get the relative levels and that in a bit. Floor tom. Again, we're going to copy and paste the previous tom over to those settings again. They're not going to be a million miles away. The longer the release is on a floor tom, the richer it is, but sometimes it lets a lot of stuff through. You can use it. I did a mix recently where there was lots of floor tom all the way through the verses, and it was so hard to mix because of that, because it was just bleeding everything. We needed the richness of a long release, but it was very difficult. Right, let's try and find the frequency to push. There, sounds cool. Similar to a kick drum, you need to do a scoop in the low mid to get rid of the muddy bit. And you need to push the top to cut through. I quite like that. Again, we're going to need reverb on these toms. Let's do the one before we didn't do, and the floor tom. Let's have a listen to where the floor tom is on the overhead. Almost completely over there. So let's... Okay, so now I'm going to select all of the tom channels. I'm going to bring them all down a bit. Take that solo off. I'm going to bring the overheads down, and let's have a listen to that section. Let's listen somewhere else. Bit more reverb on the snare, maybe on the bottom. Little bit of bottom out the kick out. Bit of saturation down. So I've put a bit of the same reverb on the overheads. It was just starting to sound a little bit disjointed. Okay, let's bring in the first Reslow. This is going to be interesting. I'm not going to do anything to it at the moment. I'm not sure it needs anything. Let's just see what happens. Slowly going to bring it in. So good. A little bit of reverb. Drum compressor off. So no bus compression. And then put it on. Let's check the stereo bus compressor, see what that's doing at this point. Yep, not a lot. Okay, let's bring the tambourine in. Not going to do anything to it at the moment. Let's just slowly bring it in, see how it sounds. Needs a little bit of reverb. Pan it a bit. Now, that's pretty good basic drum sound. That hasn't taken long, what, about 27 minutes, something like that, maybe a bit longer. There's things we could do to change it a lot if it didn't suit the song, like the snare sound is how I like it. Default drum sound, that's what I would do. But we could change it a lot. We could put a lot more low mid back in. We could take that sort of tinny sound out of it if people wanted it to sound that way. I just would start here, generally, depending on the song. You can put a lot more low end or sort of low mid welly in like that. Balance it a bit with a bit more top. I'm pretty happy with that. The only other thing I would normally do is I would fire up a drum parallel. So basically I have a auxiliary set up on my drum bus sending over to another auxiliary or another bus. and you put something on there that's going to squash it and make something interesting. So what are we going to use for that? Let's try something, I don't know, what about, it sort of doesn't matter. Anything that you can give something some smack with. Let's try the Saturate 2. It's not a compressor. Normally I would use a compressor. Let's use a saturator, see what it does. So I'm gonna solo that, listen to this. So that's not in the mix now. I'm going to slowly bring it in and we'll see how it changes the sound. Here we go. It's giving it some nice weight. I still feel a compressor is a good thing to have there. So let's try something along the lines. What have we got from Kive? Why don't we do... I'll tell you what is always good is the Filk channel. This thing does some insane stuff. Let's use compressor. Which one do I like? Compressor 1. Let's try this on there. Which sounds insane on its own. I mean, I like it, but it's insane. So we're then going to fade that in to the drum mix. Let's give that a go. I only need a tiny bit. I'm not sure if I like the gain structure of that. Let's bring the output down a bit. Bear with me. Come on, Filk channel, open up. There we go. Yeah, I push the output there way too much. Let's bring that down to a sensible level and try that again. Turn it off. Put it off. I'm happy with that. There you go, just over half an hour to do a drum sound with some pretty nice stems. Admittedly, that helps a lot. Mostly just SSL, E channel, a few other little bits. Drum sound ready to go. Right, next. I wonder if I can do that just using stock plugins. We'll see. So that went how I thought it would go. Usual sort of stuff. A lot of shortcuts, copying and pasting plugins. Once they're sort of right on one drum, you can move it to the other one, tweak it. That kind of thing really speeds you up. I love using the SSL channel strip. I'm so used to that sound. I love the dynamics on it. It's really easy to set it up quickly and just get on with it. So yeah, quite happy with how that came out. Now, this is going to be really interesting because I haven't done this for years. Just using Logic plugins, the basic EQ, the basic noise gate, the basic compressors, the whole thing. Let's see, working in a completely different way where it's kind of more visual, isn't it, to use those kind of plugins. Let's see if I can do it as quick, and let's see if I can do it as well. Let's check that out right now. Right. Yeah, I haven't done this in a while, so this might be interesting. First things first, kick in. I'm gonna need a gate, right? Dynamics, noise gate. That's gonna have to be what I use. Let's see how it works. Okay. Still, snare still triggering it a bit. Can I do some? Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Kind of works. It's harder to dial it in, it is. Then compressor. So, what have we got? So we've got the Platinum, which is the basic one, the Studio VCO, which is like a Focusrite Red. Then we've got their 1176 thing. Then we've got, that's the DBX, I think. This is like an SSL style. This is like a Blue Stripe, I guess, 76. And then this is like an LA2A. So let's try, where is it? Yeah, I always used to like the DBX. Let's try that. See what that does. Ah. Okay. I mean, I quite like that. That was easy. EQ, right. Yeah, this style of EQ. Just don't do much of it, but let's see. Okay, so I filter the bottom generally a little bit. Then I'm going to push, probably, do I want a shelf? Why not? Okay, let's get rid of the bit a bit. Let's get a click. Okay, I mean, that's... Let's see if the same plan works if I copy the gate, the compressor and the EQ. Are they going to work for the kick out? Who knows? They do. That's interesting. Oh, is that a floor tom triggering? Okay, so something else triggered kick out there. Did it? No, maybe it was kick in then and got triggered there by a floor tom or something. Yes, it did. Okay, I mean, it's not the end of the world if something else triggers it. I'm just a bit picky like that. Huh. So maybe the low cutoff. Let's try that. That. Yeah, that's done it. Okay, so basically I just did a low cut off on the sensing circuit so that it's ignoring the floor tom because it's lower than a kick. Easy. Job done. 2 kicks in. Let's do snare top. Yeah. I'll go to the double time bit in the chorus. Okay, I mean, I'm going to need the same plugins. They're going to be set very differently, I'm guessing. So, but let's copy across all those things. I'm going to turn them off and just work on the gate to begin with. Yeah, way too short. So I'm trying to get it to stop before the next beat. Dung, dung, dung. Don't want the second one in there, really. Now you heard there was a and I missed some of it because the gate is set to get that. So the threshold needs to be lower so we get that in. There it is. Okay, compressor. There was a tom trigger in it there. I'm not going to worry about that. EQ. Where is it? There it is. Right. Okay. Ooh. Oh no. Okay, so I want to push there. A body. For a minute. That's a... Yeah, not sure about that yet. Let's do snare bottom and see what that does. Again, get a copy across. These settings are not going to be far off. Let's have a listen. Oh, damn. Okay. Let's try the gate on this little bit here. That's okay. The EQ is horrible. I mean, the analyzer does help. It's got to be said. You can see where the peaks are. You can see the rattle is there. I need to reverse the phase on this. Where can I reverse the phase on it is the question. I don't think I can. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. What was that? I changed it into a different compressor. Right, I need to reverse the phase. I think you have to use gain. Is it the gain thing? Yeah, phase invert. There you go. Okay, doesn't matter where it happens in the signal chain really, as long as it's happening. So kicks and snares. I'm going to put some reverb on the snares. I'm just using the bog standard chrome reverb. I quite like the chrome reverb. I use it quite a lot. I've done a lot of big mixes using chrome reverb because it's good. So let's put some of that in there. Okay. Let's turn those down, all those faders. Let's get on. Oh no, hi-hat. I always forget a hi-hat, don't I? Hi-hat. It's because I very rarely use it. So this is easy. I'm just going to do a low cut or a high pass, whatever you want to say. Around the 300 mark. That's it. That's it for hi-hat. Right, let's get on to the overheads. Let's have a listen to what we can do on that. Gonna fire up a pretty wide cut in the middle. Get a bit of the bottom. Do a little bit of compression. Let's do similar to what we did before. What should we use? Yeah, let's go with the same. So we're going to do a slow attack, fast release because we want all the transients to get through before it compresses, but then we want it to quickly reset for the next transient. Okay, so let's mute the toms, let's mute everything else, and we're going to slowly bring in the kick and snare into the overhead. Let's do that. Okay, that ain't bad. Same as last time, we've got a bus compressor. This time it's a Logic one. I'm just using the SSL style compressor in the same way that I'd use an SSL style, you know, third party wise. 2 to 1, slowish attack, fast-ish release. Let's try and take off when the whole mix is going through it about 4 dB. When it's just drums, it will just be tickling it. So let's have a quick look. Maybe a bit more. They're weird, the Logic compressors. They sound fantastic, but sometimes you have to put the makeup gain into minus numbers because it just gives it all too much. Anyway, that sounds great. Happy with that. Let's start on Tom 1. This could be interesting. I'm going to need the same tools again, so I'm going to copy the gate off the snare, the compressor off the snare, and the EQ off the snare to start with. Let's have a look at this fill. Whoa! Okay, so the gate's clearly not quite right there. Let's have a look at that. Here we go. So these other hits are getting through and they don't want to, so let's push the threshold up. Okay, that worked really quick. Compression, there's a lot. Might not need that much compression on there. Bit better. Okay. EQ, we're going to need to do that, I think, while we're listening to it. It's interesting being able to see it. It makes you think about it very differently. That resonance there, I can quickly dial it up. Bit of reverb. Bit more reverb. It's quite surprising. That's quite easy. Okay, copying all those settings across to Tom 2 and seeing what happens. I've left the pan in from before. It's just saved me like 30 seconds or something. Let's have a listen to Tom 2. Oh, is Tom 2 not in that fill? Where is it? No, it's muted. That's all right. Okay, I remember now. It was just a little bit more lackluster the way it's hit. So we'll give it some with the compressor output. A little bit more. Okay, on to the floor tom. I'm quite surprised. This is going quicker than I thought it would. Be very strange if people prefer the sound of this one. Whoa. Okay. We have gate issues, clearly. Snare's triggering it. Longer release. Reverb. Yep, gate's too tight, it's not resonating much. Something not right about the EQ. okay. I'm all right with that. This is getting weird. Right, Reslow. Let's have a listen how that sounds. Yeah, okay. Slowly bring it in. Hi-hat. So good, that. Not doing anything to that. Okay, tambourine, let's bring that in. Reverb. Maybe a bit of reverb on that. No overhead. Hold on. Check out drum bus. Okay, drum parallel time then. Let's use what's Logic got? The distortion. Oh, the Chroma Glow thing. I quite like the Chroma Glow. Does some interesting stuff. Let's see what it's got preset wise for drums. Let's Dirt Drums, Drum Room, Drum King. There's lots of interesting drum stuff going on. Let's just have a listen, see what it's doing. Whoa! Damn! It's that bottom end. Oh my God! I mean, I really like that. I mean, I'm not sure that that sort of sub note is going to be useful very often, but wow, let's try a different one. See what that does. That was impressive. Wrong thing. Hold on, drum parallel. I mean, wow. Oh. That's pretty cool. Damn. Just sub on these things. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. Out. Then in. massively loving the gate. Okay, let's have another look at it. Might be better to have it longer. Intro's doing some weird stuff. Hold on. Bit more so. What do you think? That took 22 minutes all in from beginning to end. So I sort of don't know what that means. It was quicker, clearly, like 10 minutes quicker to get the sound up using Logic plugins only. I've always talked myself into the fact that using the SSL stuff is quicker for me. Maybe it's not quicker. I do think it's better in that there's something about the gates and the compressors, the dynamic section of the E series and the G series, to be fair, are just next level. It's really quick and sounds great very easily. These gates, they're fine. They're a bit twitchy. They do that weird thing that a lot of digital gates do. Early live digital desks, which I used a lot of, they would have that thing that the attack on a gate would cause like a strange bit of distortion. And you get that just as it's sounding about right, it starts doing that sometimes, which is a bit annoying. Obviously, there's other plugins out there that can do really good job at gating. But the compressor, the Logic compressor, I've got no issues with that. That sounds great. The EQ, yeah, it's pretty quick. I forget how quick it is when you can see an analyzer. It's a different kind of quick from knowing an analog EQ. It's a different kind of quick, and you are drawn to use your eyes over your ears sometimes. I don't know if that's better or worse. It'll be very interesting to see what people think. Anyway, there you go. It can be done. So there you go. That was the drum sound I got using just Logic's native plugins, the EQs, the compressors, the gates, the reverb, everything. That was not what I was expecting, if I'm honest. It was nearly 10 minutes quicker to do it with the Logic stuff. Do they sound as good as each other? I mean, they're slightly different, but they're pretty close. It's not like it can't be done, and that's a really good thing to know, right? That you don't need expensive third-party plugins. You can get a really good drum sound just by using the included plugins you've already got. And let's get some things out the way first. Yes, those drum recordings are excellent. Excellent mics, excellent preamps, excellent drummer. That massively helps. You're starting from a place where, when I just press play, just by putting all the volumes at the same level at the beginning, it already sounds all right. And that one versed Reslow mic, that sounds great on its own. All those things make mixing drums a lot easier. But I think we've proved that you don't need any third-party plugins to get a great drum sound. So, yeah, interesting little thing. There's another one in this sort of drum mixing series going to be coming very soon. We're going to mess with some Listen mic compressors and see what goes on with that. Anyway, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed it. If you could like the channel, that really helps. If you like the channel, like the video. That really helps. Subscribe to the channel. That helps even more. There's the Instagram, which is Mixdown Mastering. See what I get up to here every week. There's the website Studio Live, where you can see our top 5 plugins, and there's information about the courses on mixing and mastering, or you can book mixing or mastering or anything you want to do. Anyway, I will see you next time. Adios, people.